Hi guys, I'm JadaKaye. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to assume that you are here for the first time as a mom, wanting to hear somebody else's story about breastfeeding. And that's why I'm here today to tell you guys what the journey has been like for me. Before we get into it, I want to let you guys know I'm a first-time mom and I didn't have breastfeeding background knowledge. By that, I mean, I've never seen anybody breastfeed. Nobody in my family has ever breastfed their child that I've seen. I don't have any friends that breastfed, so I didn't really know much about breastfeeding. I kind of just assumed that it's putting your boob in the baby's mouth and you're feeding the baby. But everybody I knew has formula fed. So going into this, I think I had a clean slate of what breastfeeding was, okay? And I feel like that's a factor. As a first-time mom, of course, when I got pregnant, TikTok had a lot of information to give me. And I mean a lot. It had everybody's story from what worked and what didn't work to everybody's doing something different with raising their kids. And a lot of people were saying that breastfeeding didn't work for them and it was awful and it was painful and it was XYZ. A lot of people were also saying that breastfeeding was amazing and it worked for them and XYZ. And I've heard so many different stories. And again, what works for you, not what works for one person is going to work for the next person. And that is the beauty of life. That is the beauty of choice and options. So don't feel like with me sharing my story, I'm telling you have to breastfeed. I'm just giving an insight of what breastfeeding looks like for somebody else. And this is not by any means like an educational video. This is purely for entertainment. I'm purely just sharing my story and what works for me and what I figured out along the way. Now, I've been breastfeeding for 10 months. My baby is 10 months now, almost 11. And I exclusively breastfeed, meaning I do not pump. I just breastfeed. How has this been, y'all? So at first, I always knew, I'm only 23, but from a child, I've always envisioned being a mom, blah, blah, blah. And I've always envisioned, I guess, breastfeeding. And I just assumed, like I said previously, that breastfeeding was just taking your boob, putting it in the baby's mouth, and you feed them, and that's really it. But as I became a first-time mom and started scrolling through TikTok and seeing all these different opinions and stories and facts and lactation consultants sharing this and this about latching and it became overwhelming, the realization of things won't or may not go so smoothly, and they may not. I think this for anybody can put fear in your heart about breastfeeding. It can put fear in your heart about how hard breastfeeding is. I'm going to let you know now, my personal opinion is that breastfeeding is the easiest option I could have chose, and any other option is hard. Being a mom is an adjustment, and finding a routine, finding balance, finding time to do simple things. Like when I was trying to bottle feed and just the turnaround between making a bottle, then like washing the bottle and washing the pumps and this, that, and the third, especially if you're pumping into, let me catch my fucking breath, bitch. Especially when you're breastfeeding into a bottle just to bottle feed, maybe I'm just a lazy bitch, but the amount of fucking dishes that accumulate on top of just regular dishes that you use, now you have a shit ton of baby bottles and pump parts to wash, and then you have to wash the pump parts after every use. Insanity. In fucking sanity. Y'all, are you guys okay? You mothers, that's your routine. Are you guys okay? Oh, I'm not even gonna speak on it because I don't live that experience, so I don't know. But for me, like just to whip out that boob is so much easier for me. That first week when we come home, I'm in bed and I can stay in bed with my baby. I don't have to get up and make a bottle, warm a bottle, cool a bottle, worry about formula. And the amount of money that we saved was, oh, thank God. Coming home, we did have we had bottles, and I had 2 kinds of formula, 2 different kinds of Kinder Meal, the organic and the non-organic, as options in case something went wrong with my boobs. Because I did understand that there are some people have issues with their milk coming in, some people have issues with latching, so you're going to want to have a backup option just in case. I also had a manual pump, and I had the like put it in your bra, the portable pump, in case I wanted to pump. Because again, like you want to have options because you don't know what is going to happen. You want to be prepared for all kind of avenues. I was prepared if I needed formula, and I was prepared if I needed a pump. I do think that's one of the pros for me with breastfeeding, is not having to worry about the cleanup of the other things. Because I did try pumping, and The next part I wanted to touch was latching, basically, the process of latching. So I think I went into after birth knowing that I wanted to utilize that golden hour. Listen, I think a lot of my mom friends who gave birth and wanted to breastfeed, their birth had some kind of complication. So the baby came out and they weren't able to have that immediate skin to skin within the first hour. That moment is a crucial moment. If you have complications and you don't get that moment, I don't think it necessarily means you won't be able to breastfeed. But I think that is what, in my opinion, creates breastfeeding struggles. I knew I wanted to limit the interventions I have to push to give birth naturally, and I did give birth naturally, and I think that allowed me, in my case, to utilize that golden hour, because once they put that baby on me and like cleaned up a bit, like my boob was out and I was feeding the baby, and he latched immediately and he started drinking milk and everything was fine, but it wasn't comfortable. There was still more to do. I thought like, oh, that was it, and what I was feeling was it, but I had to learn that there is a proper latch. You know, my baby latched immediately, and then things simmered down. The lactation consultant came in and kind of like asked me or just checked on me as far as like, how is it going? And corrected me on like my latch. Now, the proper latch is, there's a way to do it, and there are videos on YouTube of latching where you kind of like, this is the baby's lips. You take your nipple and you rub your nipple on the top of the baby's lips to get them to kind of like open their mouth a bit more, a bit wider. And then you like stuff your boob in there so that when they close it, your nipple, as you see my fingernail, is now in the opening of their mouth instead of like, and this is your areola rubbing on their lips. So it prevents your nipple from getting that cracked feeling when it's in their mouth. And that takes some practice. Like, your baby isn't naturally going like, ow. Your baby is naturally like just going, oh, you know what I'm saying? But you want them to go, ow, and put more boob. Therefore, it minimizes the rubbing, and that is a correct latch. And when you get that latch correct, it's way more comfortable for you, and it allows your boob to kind of recover. That part I didn't know until I started doing a lot of research. And that's when I say I was kind of naive to the idea that you have to practice breastfeeding. It doesn't just come naturally. But there are free resources out there to help you. While I was in the hospital, at least one lactation consultant will come and visit you. But I was there for 2 days. So I had 3 different lactation consultants on a different shift come and check on me, because they got to make sure that you're doing okay. Utilize asking them questions. They're going to tell you everything, and she gave me a booklet anyway, but I asked questions, and don't be afraid to ask them to show you again and again and again. And while I was there, you could also call the lactation consultant and ask them questions, and call them to come to your room and show you again if you have another question. They had no problem helping, because they are, in essence, advocating for you to breastfeed. So they want to give you any information, anything you want to know. They want to hand it to you to make sure that you are successful and set up to be successful once you leave and don't have them by your side. So I asked questions. I had her show me again and again. And, you know, I got the information I needed. If you are not aiding to yourself during this process, your boobs won't, like, your nipples won't recover quickly. It's like, you got to put in work with the breastfeeding, like, especially this first 6 weeks, actively working on the latch every time. If you put the baby on your nipple and you latch, and they latch on and it stings and it doesn't work, don't be afraid to try again until it feels a little bit more comfortable. And then lather it up with your lanolin, cover it, rest. And eventually it gets better. After that 6 week, it stops hurting, and they get the rhythm of how to latch properly, or you just get the rhythm of how to put your boob in properly. And their mouth gets a little bit bigger, so it naturally is easier for them to really take on more boob in their mouth instead of just your nipple. And everything naturally aligns. Like, it just stopped hurting one day. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It kind of did, in the thick of it, feel like, when is this going to end? Like, when is this going to get easier? When is it going to stop being painful? But it was also so rewarding when I was breastfeeding my baby, knowing that he was getting full. And I knew that I was doing the right thing, and I felt like I was doing the right thing through the pain. And eventually the pain just went away. Like, it stopped being sore when I fed my baby. I felt way more confident. And it just got easier. And now I'm 10 months in and I'm still breastfeeding, and I still feel like it's the easiest option. Now, a lot of people might ask me, like, how do I breastfeed in public or getting comfortable breastfeeding with public? Eventually, you and your baby are going to get in sync. You're going to get in rhythm and you're going to get on a routine. And your baby isn't going to be cluster feeding every hour all the time. I'm not going to lie. In my opinion, the breastfeeding lifestyle is more of a quiet lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you are the type of person where you want to go here, there, and everywhere, and you want to be out and about, and you want to be grocery, like, you want to be moving a lot after you've given birth and like back to normal life. And I cannot speak on that type of breastfeeding lifestyle. You can breastfeed through any lifestyle you have, all right? But for me, in my opinion, it required me to chill a bit more. Like, I wasn't going to the store all the time. I wasn't going out. I wasn't going to family members' houses. I was at home. I was at home recovering, and I was at home figuring out my baby and figuring out what to do. I didn't have to rush back to work. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I had the time to really be here and zone in. And me and my baby got in sync for the first 6 weeks when I did want to leave the house and go grocery shopping and then just like try and be a mom outside with the baby. What worked for me was timing. I know when my baby wanted to feed. They're very, they're very fucking predictable. They work on a routine. So even when they're cluster feeding, it's probably every fucking hour at least. So I knew wherever I was going, I breastfed before I got in the car, because I don't want to breastfeed in public. I breastfed before I got in the car. I would drive to the store. I would try and breastfeed before I go into the store while I'm in the car. He would eat and we'd be fine in the store, or he wouldn't eat and we would get in the store and he might get fussy because he's hungry. What I do, I turned back and I went back to the car. I was always okay turning back if it got to that point where, you know, like he was too fussy. Baby, stop everything you got to do, go in the car and tend to your baby. And that's what I did. And I always allotted myself enough time to get this one thing done. Like, we're going to the grocery store. I'm giving myself the entire day to find the right window, to find the right timing, and to take it slow. Because if you are in a rush, then you're going to feel flustered because this is new to you. Breastfeeding in public is new to you. So that's how I dealt with that. Also, as time went on, especially now, he's on a routine. He only really breastfeeds before he's going to sleep. So if I'm leaving the house, I'm most likely either going to leave the house, I'll feed him before and let him nap on the drive if I'm going far, or, you know, you're going to know your baby. You're going to know what works for you. It just becomes so natural. It becomes so fluid. It becomes so easy. It's nothing. Like, it's literally nothing. It's nothing, nigga. It's nothing. But that is really, this has been a long video, and I hope I've provided some value or even just some insight on what breastfeeding looks like, because I think the examples of what breastfeeding looks like that I was seeing on TikTok specifically, or Instagram, or just through reels and stuff, it wasn't fitting my lifestyle, or it wasn't anything close to what I have going on to myself. So it wasn't feeling like it was a realistic representation of what breastfeeding was looking like. Also, a lot of moms were like showing a day in their life while breastfeeding, and it seemed like too good to be true because I was in the fucking thick of it. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe for more videos like this. It would really like give me that encouragement to know that this video is liked, to keep making more. And leave some comments and questions, and I will answer all questions about breastfeeding, all questions about being a young mom, a first-time mom. I'll answer anything, y'all. So let me know what you want to see in the comments. Let me know if you like this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video because my battery is about to die, bitch. Lauderdale, how?